Yes, guys, welcome back to the Take On. It's me, myself, Anton Ferdinand. To my left, I've got Danny Murphy. And to my right, I've got Joey.
Something.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Yeah. There's only one place to start on the Take On. And because it's fresh in our minds, we're going to go straight to the England game last night. What was your thoughts?
I thought we done well. Like, I look at that Italy side and I think it's very much changed from the side we came up against in that Euro final. Like, literally, they had two players that were on the pitch for that Euro final. Obviously, we had, I think it was 8. And then when you look at the players we had that weren't on the pitch in the Euro final, you're looking at the likes of Bellingham, Phil Foden, really, really high-level players. So I would say, and I'm not sort of sticking the knife in here, but I would say there's a definite drop in quality from that Italy side in terms of what we lined up against in the final that time and where those players were in their careers at that time. You had the likes of a Jorginho playing then who was playing at top level club football, winning Champions League.
He was at Chelsea.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but you had some good players.
Verratti, Chiesa. I mean, they was a good side.
And when I look at the one last night, I think, okay, that's a weakened side. But what I did like is we showed character, didn't we? We went behind in the match. Could have been 2 down at one point. Skamaka, the old West Ham boy, looked like he was quite lively up top. Yeah. We showed character to come back in the match and done well in the end. But it all sort of come down to one man for me, and that's obviously Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, I agree with that. However, Murph, what do you think about Gareth Southgate's selection process in terms of, and I say this a lot, like when he first came into the job, his quotes were, to play for England, you've got to be playing for your club and you have to be in form. If you're not, you're in jeopardy of not being picked in this England team.
Yeah, I think I'd understand it a little bit more if we were struggling for players, in the similar positions. There's a few arguments, isn't there? So if we start, I mean, just quickly, an overview would be, I thought second half we were really dynamic and showed how good we are with our forward players. And so, I mean, the goals were, really good goals, and we looked like a team that can hurt teams with the pace and with the skill and, the way we broke for the last goal. The second goal, the pace of Rashford. Saka will be competing with Foden and Rashford as well soon, who's obviously a wonderful player. Bellingham's just off the charts, and McCain looked fit and sharp as well, looked really at it. So lots to be positive about. But back to your point, Phillips, it's not like he's playing 1 in 3, 1 in 4. He's just not playing. And to be fair, I like Phillips when he's at it, but he's not playing, so he's not got the fitness or sharpness. He should have been sent off. Yeah. If that was a quarter-final, semi-final of the Euros, and he's not game ready, or the last group game where you've got to get a result, it could cost you.
But that's the thing, though. Sorry, that is the thing. When you're not playing regularly,
can't be at it.
You can't be at it. No. So you do make them challenges.
Yeah.
Because you're not at it. So I get what you mean. That's a big problem for me, and I say that about Maguire. As a defender, it's hard to be at the races. Your timing's off. You need to get timing in games. You don't get that in training. It's impossible.
Well, they've both said that in interviews after the game for the first time. They didn't say, I'm going to move, but they basically said they know they need to be playing because they want to go to the Euros. So maybe Gareth's spoken to them. The other one to add to those two is probably Henderson, who's playing out in Saudi, who can't, although he's playing, he's not going to be able to maintain the same levels as you would by playing in the Premier League. You know that. I mean, you can't. It's like playing friendlies every week, isn't it? Let's be honest. So the question is, will he continue to pick those players if they don't get the game time before the Euros? I don't see how he can. So you would expect them probably to try and move, whether it be on loan or permanently in January. This is Maguire and Phillips. But if not, there has to be an alternative. And I think the question is, what's the alternative? And why isn't he comfortable using an alternative? I mean, we talked about Ward-Prowse, but now at West Ham playing arguably the best football of his life. I think he can play the role Phillips plays.
Yeah.
I don't think Gareth thinks he can, obviously, but he's not even in the squad. But then you talk about other players in midfield. Rico Lewis, Pep picks him ahead of Phillips.
Yeah.
I mean, Pep, let's be honest, the best coach in the world. Let's look at him and listen. He watches him train every day. Even the lad Longstaff at Newcastle, how good was he?
Gallagher at Chelsea.
Gallagher, another one. Well, he's in the squad. He's in the squad, Gallagher.
No, but I think like when you look at that, right? You look at the Harry Maguire one, and that he's always up for selection. You go, yeah, but he's Southgate's man. He's always done it for Southgate, sort of thing. But the main thing I would say is there's not like a wealth of depth in that position, yeah? So you go, no, maybe a Lewis Dunk, maybe a Levi Colwell coming through out of the under-21 side.
Yeah.
But I get it. You look at it, you said there's not that much depth there. And then you look at like the absentees of like Raheem Sterling, hasn't been involved in the last two squads. For me, he's in good form at Chelsea. But then you look at the depth there and you go, yeah, but you know, you've got Rashford, you've got Saka, you've got Grealish, you've got Bowen, you've got all these other players. So I sort of understand that.
Is that worrying for Sterling? The fact that he's in form, he's been arguably England's best player over the last 4 to 6 years.
Yeah.
The Euros, he dragged us to the final. You know, yeah, Kane scored some important goals, but he dragged us to the final.
Yeah, Sterling was the best player.
Yeah. Is that worrying for Sterling? The fact that he's now into form. There's players who are out of form, like Rashford, who are in the squad, and Saka weren't even in the squad, and he's still not in it. Is that worrying?
I think it's massively, massively worrying for Sterling. And I also think, like, if you're Sterling, you'd be absolutely fuming, because we can look at other players that aren't getting in, right? Say, for example, Mark Gahey. You could say, oh, is he fuming he's not getting in ahead of Maguire? He might be, but he was never that man anyway. It was always Maguire's spot, and it was his to come and take it. Raheem Sterling's had his spot taken off of him by other players. And like you say, he's always done it for England. So
the only thing is, do you think, I mean, I might be finding something ain't there, but if Gareth spoke to Raheem and said, look, I know what you can do for me. I don't really want to put you in the squad and leave you on the bench. Obviously, the Euro's a different thing. You might be on and off the bench. You'd accept that more as a player, whether you're older or younger. But right now, he might have had a chat with him. We don't know.
But there was quotes that came out saying he hasn't had a chat with him.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, it's not to say everything you hear in the media is true, but there was quotes that came out saying Southgate hasn't spoke to Sterling. So that's one when I sort of think that's a weird one. If you take away from it, you go, look, we've got so many good options there. But then when you look at the two roles we'd spoke about, like centre-back and central midfield in where Calvin Phillips is playing, it's not like we're short of players there. You know, Lewis Dunk's come in, done a good job. Levi Colwell, I believe, is the future of England at centre-back next to John Stones.
I think Gay's quality, mate.
I think Gay is
quick,
good.
two-footed, calm. Do you know what? I think the key is this. Do we think, or I'll ask you to, and then I'll have my say, do you think we can win the Euros playing, so even if it isn't Phillips, but playing two defensive midfielders and leaving the four to go and win us the game? Or do you think that's still too negative or pragmatic to win us this tournament?
Me personally, I think we need to play more of a dynamic 8 next to Declan.
Okay.
In my opinion. Declan, as we've seen him I've seen him closely playing for West Ham, but now Arsenal fans and more people are starting to see it now that he runs for 2 in there anyway.
He does, but just to give you play devil's advocate on that, when Arsenal looked really solid and beat City, he played Jorginho and then Declan with him, didn't he?
Declan played more advanced.
Yeah, but he can still help out.
Of course.
But if you play France, Portugal, whoever, I don't think that's going to change.
But Rico Lewis does that for City when he plays in there.
He's more dynamic, yeah.
Ward-Prowse does it for West Ham when he's in there.
I agree with you.
You know, and these are players who have probably got more than Phillips going forward.
Especially at the moment.
But also can do the defensive side. And you made a good point. I think Gareth feels that these other players can't do what Phillips does defensively. But if you watch them, they can.
I think we can. I think we can win it playing defensive. I'd like to see us win it playing attacking. The only thing I would say is when you look at tournament winners, maybe that golden generation Spanish side sort of blur our judgment at this little bit. But 9 out of 10 times a tournament winner don't really win the tournament on being ultra attacking. They usually win it by not conceding too many goals. You know, look at so many teams in our lifetime. Italy when they just won the Euros, Greece when they won the Euros.
If we're being honest though,
it's a great example.
The reason why Gareth likes to play 2 defensive players is to protect centre backs. If Maguire's going to play and he's your man, he can't play where it's open.
No.
It's impossible. He struggles. Stones can, yeah. But Harry Maguire can't. He struggles when he plays week in, week out to play when it's open. It's even harder when you're not playing week in, week out to play like that. So I can't see if he's going to play Maguire.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. We're going defensive. Fact.
You know, the funny thing as well, like, I actually think Maguire won't leave Man United in January. I think he'll get a fair few games. You're already seeing now he's starting to get games. I think that's necessarily not because Ten Hag's going to rate him as the highest and first choice in that centre-back pairing. But I just think they've had their injury problems. Varane never seems to stay fit for all that long. I think he'll play quite a few games, obviously, in the competitions. You know what I mean? They're going to be in Europe. Even if they go out the Champions League, they'll have Europa League football, which you'd very much see Maguire coming in. So I think that, and I've also read this morning, Romano was tweeting that Calvin Phillips would be leaving in January, looking for game time.
Well, that'll help Gareth.
Yeah.
Because if Phillips is playing all the time, I like him. He's a good player.
Yeah.
So he's then, of course, it's an easier debate and argument to have because it's just a preference then. They're both playing. Who would you have? Fine, the manager makes his decision. But at one point I wanted to get to, and it's a really fascinating one. You've got... So let's look at what we've got at the moment. So we'll keep Sterling out of it. On the right, you've probably got Saka and Foden. I know Saka's probably... And then you got on the left, Rashford, Grealish. There's 4. Who would you go with and why? Because the one worry I've got, and I think from an attacking point of view and dynamism and pace, I would probably edge for Saka and Rashford, against the big, because no one likes defending against that pace. But I noticed again last night with Rashford, and what a goal, by the way, and he looks fit and sharp, but how many times Di Lorenzo got in because he wasn't tracking him? City wingers always defend better than anybody else's wingers.
Yeah.
So Grealish, who last season, how many times we saw him running back? Even Foden did it well last night, a couple of times getting back. Do you go with the players who will defend, or do you go with the ones who can win? You think are more dynamic because they're all brilliant footballers, but that defensive thing that City players seem to have, because Pep won't have it, will he? He won't have his players not doing that work. Who would you go with?
Me personally, I'm taking Raheem Sterling. Tournament football, he's proven.
So he's on the right or on the left?
I play him on the left.
Saka, who are you going on the right?
Saka on the right.
But Saka's another one, amazing footballer, and please don't take this the wrong way because I do really like him, but I think he can improve going that way.
Yeah, I think Saka is probably, obviously barring Harry Kane, the first one that I'd say, without a doubt, he's definitely in there. Then you got a really hard decision because then you go, right, Rashford pretty much guarantees you goals, like more often than not. You think
8 in 9 starts?
Exactly. You look at him in the World Cup just gone. You normally think that Rashford's going to get you goals, especially in tournament football. Then you look at Sterling, never let England down, but even scrap just never letting England down. If you say to me a Kane partnership with either Rashford, Grealish or Sterling, for me, the Kane partnership with Sterling is the one that's got the most understanding. They get on well, they know each other, they know exactly what they want from each other in terms of how they're playing.
And Sterling runs in behind.
Does.
But all that being said, for some reason, in tournament football, bearing in mind, we know it's very different. We know like winning free kicks, set pieces, all these sort of things are massively, massively important, and being able to draw them into you and take a few out of the game. Grealish, I think Grealish is the one in his horses for courses. And
he links well with Kane and all.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
In fact, most players
Grealish is the one, I remember especially that Euros. Obviously, he played a lot during the World Cup, but especially that Euros. When he wasn't starting, there was a lot of calls for him to start. Whenever he came on, he really significantly impacted the game.
Yeah.
So let's get your two to play up front on the wings.
Grealish and Saka.
Saka, Sterling.
None of us going Foden, are we?
No, but
that's mad, isn't it?
Crazy.
How lucky are we to have this choice? Foden's a joke as well.
Do you reckon?
I'm going to, because of Bellingham at 10. This is what I think. I would
go Bellingham
and
8.
Foden.
I'd go Bellingham 8 with Rice, Foden 10.
I would do that. I'd go Bellingham, Rice, Foden,
100%.
Saka, Rashford.
I don't think you put Bellingham back in the 8 now. I think...
No, he's not going to.
I think that when you look at the job that 10 goals in 10 games, you look at the job he's doing for Real Madrid. A few eyebrows were raised, when Ancelotti put him in that 10. Because at Dortmund, we've mostly seen him in an 8. And everyone was sort of thinking, oh, no, he's a bit more box. Since he's been in that 10, we were speaking about the intensity he played with last night, especially second half. A lot of that came down to where Bellingham was on the pitch and being able to put the pressure on them quick, force mistakes.
But you say that, what about the tackle before he ended up with the tackle on the edge of the box before they broke and then got the goal?
Yeah.
That's an 8's position. If you're constantly stuck as a 10, he just goes where he wants anyway. But both points are valid. Gareth ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No.
So I would, and we'd be interested in your take on this. I think I'd go, when I see Saka and Rashford on the team sheet, if I'm an opposition manager, I'm thinking my fullbacks have got to be at it. Foden's a more clever, intelligent kind of in the pockets, brilliant at but you know that raw one-on-one, you got Rashford coming at you, you got Saka coming at you.
The reason why I say Sterling is because Sterling runs
in behind
without the ball.
He does.
And we've got players who can find him. Kane, his relationship with Son.
But this is the problem for Gareth, because whoever he doesn't pick, if they don't win it, he's going to get hammered for not picking.
Of course.
That's
You know a funny one
being
there.
the manager though of England.
When we were speaking about like obviously club form and whatnot, and we were talking about the midfielders that could be in there potentially ahead of a Calvin Phillips or a Henderson, none of us even think about Mason Mount now. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of players that
Sorry, Mason. We do love you. I do.
Of course, but I'm saying there's a lot of players that we're sort of overlooking at the minute, and maybe come the end of the season,
true.
they might have staked a claim, and you're like, okay,
that felt like Joey wanted to get that in, obviously because he's left Chelsea.
Yeah. Well,
What's your take on that?
He's a Portsmouth fan, isn't he?
I thought he was just being nice to flex.
yeah.
He's trying to rescue his beef.
Let's stick the knife in now, Flex ain't here.
But on a serious note, Jude Bellingham, how good is he?
Don't see a weakness, you know. Not seeing it. Not seeing a weakness. Power, mentality. Like, I'm going to be the best player. I'm going to influence this game. Goals, assists, pace. Can defend. He could easily play as an 8, by the way. You know, because of his... But you might lose something going the other way. To do what he's doing at his age is beyond anything I thought anybody would do.
It gives me that sort of Rooney vibe in the way that, like, Rooney was a man at 18. At 18 years old, you know... Old wily pros would be cautious about going up against Rooney, especially physicality and in the challenge and that sort of thing. And I think that the mature head on Jude Bellingham's shoulders is one of the reasons why he's been able to slot straight into that Real Madrid team. Not only slot in, basically go, right, I'm surrounded by Champions League winners left, right and centre. I'm a kid from Birmingham, but I'm going to be the one driving this team forward now. And I can't see it changing anytime soon. Like, I think... he is the difference between us. I could tell you one thing. I know the bookmakers, right? If, God forbid, touch wood, Jude Bellingham went down injured before this tournament.
Don't say that.
Our odds would be completely scrapped, like when it comes to the bookies in terms of winning the thing. So, but he's just, he's ridiculous at the minute.
Where do you think that mentality comes from? Do you think it's a gift, or do you think it's because of the people around you, the way you're brought up?
I think it's the way you're brought up.
You know, it's not in you. It's not like a genetic thing.
I think to some extent it's got to be.
I do. I don't mean it's talent.
I think
I'm on about the mentality to walk into Real Madrid, to walk on the England pitch at 18 and go, I'm going to be the best.
Your mentality is what's taught, like in terms of like things you go through.
Yeah.
Things you go through in your life, things that you're taught in your life, that shapes your mentality.
Yeah, I agree.
Rather more than you're born with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, like when we talk about our kids, when they're growing up, they're a representation of what you teach them. You know, what you teach them mentality to be. Sometimes they don't have it in them to be able to grasp it, but this boy grasped it with both hands. You know, and I think
he's a future England captain, more than Declan. More than Declan.
Do you?
Only because he's got this unbelievable ability to grab a game.
Yeah.
A bit like Gerrard and his pomp, but he's got it at this age.
Yeah.
You know, like even what he was doing with the fans, everyone loves him. People seem to gravitate towards his energy when he's on the pitch. I mean, I just don't see. I mean, Harry's not done yet, of course, but I don't ever see a day where Bellingham would drag him down having the armband.
No, he would wear that armband.
He's probably played him back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Just based off what he's done at Real Madrid, you got to think a kid. He's a kid going into Real Madrid with superstars in there, by the way, and going, "No, this is my team." And this is what fair play to Ancelotti. The way he's like as a mister, the way as a coach, the way he's like letting him do what he's got to do and taking the shackles off and just gone, go on, take it. If you want it, it's your team. Have it.
I was asked this earlier, but I can't think of anyone else who's better than him in the world at the moment.
That was going to be my next question. In form,
Yeah, he's the best.
at the moment, right now, who is the best player? And we've got names down here. We've got Kylian Mbappe.
But he's not been scoring, has he? He's only started scoring last week. I know he's been out, by the way, but
Yeah. Jude Bellingham, Erling Haaland, Rodri, Mo Salah, Harry Kane, and Joel's put in there William Saliba.
I think out of those names you've just named, the only one that you could make a sensible argument for, not to say I'd agree with it, is Mbappe. The problem with Mbappe is if you're looking at the best in the world and you're looking at it in terms of a whole package, right? Jude Bellingham, elite mentality, right? And you might say, of course, Mbappe's got one. But your attitude comes into your mentality a little bit. And we know for one reason or another, there's always been little fallouts and things like that there. And maybe the story is too early in its stages to say that there'll never be that with Bellingham. But like you were saying about upbringing and that, you know, I think his dad was a policeman, like things like that. You'd imagine he comes from a very disciplined background. I can't see us ever having like the off the field problems and stuff like that with Bellingham. And even in terms of how brilliant Mbappe is, if you can only have one in your team for a one-off match, maybe I've got a bit of English bias here, but I'm definitely going for Bellingham.
Even after what Mbappe done in the final, the World Cup.
Didn't win it though, did they?
Yeah, but he
2-0 down by that point.
But he what did he score?
Hat-trick.
Scored hat-trick in the
Yeah,
World Cup final.
he had the platform to do it though, didn't he? You know what I mean? Like
No, I get
he's
that.
got the platform to do that in that match.
There's two conversations. One is who's the best player in the world. Probably at the minute, over body of work, Mbappe's up there, and Messi's nearing the end now, so Mbappe would be talked about from most people. But on current form, Bellingham's the best. And you're right, on current form, I'd have Bellingham in my team ahead of anyone.
The only thing that I would say is, because a lot of people don't watch German football, if people were watching German football, I think Musiala would be in there.
I think Musiala would be in the chat saying, could he be one of the best players in the world in 5 years? But in terms of right now...
You don't think he's doing enough?
I saw
be in that conversation.
I've seen him twice.
That's what I'm saying.
I saw him in a league game, which was Kane's either debut or second game, where he was showed some unbelievable bits. And I saw the United game where he was just off the charts. So is he potentially one of the best players in the world? Yes, I agree with you. But he hasn't got the numbers Jude's hitting.
Do you think if you take Mbappe out of that France team over the last 6 years, do you think it writes off their chances of being able to win something? I'm not saying they'd be just as likely, but do you think there's no chance of them winning anything without Mbappe?
Yeah.
Still a chance, but a much smaller one.
I still think there's a chance. Obviously, look, it's not a one-man team, but PSG, they've not been able to push on and win the Champions League. They've had a season where they didn't win the French League. You'd imagine...
We're talking about a guy who scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final. It was only because of Messi that he didn't win it.
Technically, he didn't score a hat-trick, did he?
What was that?
2 in 90 minutes.
Oh, okay, it's an hat-trick. It's an hat-trick. I can't have it. But like, if it weren't for Messi,
and let's not forget he has already won one World Cup.
Yeah, I'm obviously going to make a case for Jude. You know what I mean? But I say, when you're reading out that list, it's Mbappe the one that you're going to go, right, there's a solid, sensible argument there. But if I can only pick one to be on the pitch for me at the minute, whether they're English, French, anything else,
Jude's just gone clear for me.
He's got the potential to be a serial Ballon d'Or winner.
Oh, 100%.
Don't you think?
100%.
Serial.
And I know it's completely hypothetical, but like, if you say, right, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, even because of the age he's at, do you think he'll still be at the top level? Again, injuries, everything comes into it, but I'm going to go, yeah, Bellingham will be. Whereas with Mbappe, he's absolutely phenomenal. I can't tell you for sure if 10 years from now Mbappe's playing at the top level.
But just get this quickly. Musiala and Bellingham, that picture from playing together for England under, 16, 17,
yeah.
What would Gareth do if he had Musiala now?
Oh, wow.
Where's he fitting in?
And he'd have to fit in somewhere. He'd have to. He'd have to.
I don't think he would. It'd still be Phillips. And
no, he'd have to. He'd have to.
He'd be on the bench.
No chance.
Mate, you never know though. You see if Foden was able to declare nationality for another team and he was smashing it in another national side, we'd be going,
yeah,
he'd have to fit him in somewhere, and it's like, mate, he don't.
We're spoiled, aren't we?
We are spoiled. Just want to quickly touch on, obviously, the booing from the England fans to Jordan Henderson and Harry Maguire. My take on it, obviously, in terms of Harry Maguire, doesn't help the fact that he's not playing for his club.
Well, also that was Scotland fans.
Yeah,
That is different.
True. It is different.
So you're going to expect that.
Yeah.
I would argue Gareth didn't need to put him on at half-time. He had other centre-halves.
Yeah.
I mean, you're away in Scotland or Ireland or home nation game, and you're putting him half a chance.
It's time to blood players there, I think. Yeah. You can bring somebody else on there.
He knew what Harry gives him. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was game time. But it's different than what Jordan had the other night because his own fans booed him.
Yeah, and my take on Jordan is I don't understand why you would boo a player who's given everything for the country when wearing the England shirt, just because he's made a decision to leave England and go and play in a league that may not be to your liking, whether it's for political reasons, whether it's for just for the football reasons, or whether you think he's being greedy and going for the money.
I don't think he'd have got booed. I don't know, but I don't think he'd have got booed if it was just about leaving for the money. I think it's because of his vocal support and online support for the LGBTQ community and all that, and then going to take the money from a country that homosexuality is illegal, etc., etc., etc.
I get that.
That's the main. I think that. I might be wrong, but I think that's where the booing came from initially.
I get that, but me personally, I can't accept that. I can't have that for the simple reason that he said it himself. He's still the same person. He's not been asked to be different.
No,
he still has his same. But
some people's argument would be he's not got the courage of his convictions, and as soon as the money's shown, all that support's gone. And
tell me a person who wouldn't do it. Please tell me.
I'm with you.
Tell me a person.
I'm playing devil's advocate to the people. I'm trying to get into the mindset of people who boo him. I'm not somebody who would boo him for making that decision, right? But I think there's a minority who feel strongly enough to say that's not the type of behaviour we condone, so we're going to boo you as you come off the pitch. The good, just to add some good on it, is that Gareth spoke about it. There seemed to be a majority of the fans at the Italy game, which was the one after he got booed, who actually gave him a round of applause when he came on. So that was good to see and hear. But I don't think... My last word on it is this, and I don't think Jordan's going to be as affected by it as maybe people who are reporting on it, but you can't have all the good in football. You can't have all the good things without some of the bad. And occasionally he's had loads of plaudits over the years for being a wonderful captain and leader and doing great things at Liverpool. Now he's made a decision for him and his family, and I would have made the same one, not probably. So I get it. But you're going to have to face the repercussions of your decisions sometimes.
Yeah.
And if that's a bit of booing when he come off at Wembley, then he's going to have to take it on the chin and crack on.
So he's big enough. I know him personally. He came through at Sunderland when I was there. He's big enough to take that. Definitely.
Of course he is.
He's big enough to take that. He's got the personality to take that.
He could be part of the team that wins the Euros next year.
100%.
Things will change.
And the fact of the matter, sorry, Joe, and the fact of the matter, his mentality and the way that he is as a person, he might be looking at it and be, okay, they know that I'm a big advocate for the LGBTQ community. They know that and they still want me. Maybe it's easier to try and educate people from the inside rather than being from the outside in.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No. You just never know.
No, but that's a bit. I think that's if you think. I don't think he believes.
But until you go there, it is a country that's thriving to change.
I just think in life, at some point in these footballers' lives, they're going to have to make a decision. As the Saudi League emerges, you're going to have to make a decision. Do I upset people that, all right, I've campaigned for and I've sort of given a voice to at times? Do I risk upsetting them, or do I make a decision that literally secures my family, my kids' kids for generations to come? And at the end of the day, anyone that says to me, no matter what the situation is, they don't pick family over anything, I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose the argument is against that again. Is he could own that and say it.
Yeah.
But then they are the ones paying him the money, the employers. So I think it's best to just sort of keep.
He came out and said yesterday before the game, I had an interview, and said that him as a person will never ever change.
And I believe that. And I believe that
because I know him. He will never ever change.
And I would make the same decision. But I know we've got to wrap up, but I don't look. If you're a footballer in this day and age, and we didn't really have these decisions to make,
you've got to take both.
I don't. Yeah, But I don't think it's the right decision to start using your platform to go down any political views and support of people might say you should use it because you're an influence. I think as soon as you start going down that road, you're opening yourself up somewhere to have to be bitten. And I wouldn't do it. I would stay focused on the job in hand and not get, although some people might say you should support this and you should support that, I think sometimes players generally, not Jordan, but players generally, stay in your lane a bit more, focus on your football and don't get too preoccupied with all that, because you might find this type of stuff happening somewhere down the line.
Yeah. That's enough on the booing, I think. Should we look at the up-and-coming fixtures this weekend? Some big ones.
Yeah.
Especially for us three.
Yeah, we'll do them quickly, because I know you're a popular man. You're going to...
Liverpool-Everton.
Home win, isn't it?
I think.
Home win. Everton.
You sure?
I don't think Everton will go down, but they haven't got the capabilities of winning at Anfield the way Liverpool are playing. Not worried at all. West Ham and Villa?
This is a massive game, I think, for both teams. Villa are trotting along nicely.
Especially at home.
Yeah, doing
so
really,
much
really
away.
well. And West Ham, started the season well. I think these two teams will be battling it out for European places this year, I think. So it's a big game.
It looks like fifth's getting Champions League now.
Is it? Wow. I'm going West Ham win.
I thought you were going to say I'm going West Ham fifth.
I'm going West Ham win, I am. West Ham win, I think.
I think West Ham get a result there.
I'll take a draw.
Yeah.
West Ham, I'll take a draw. But I think West Ham win 1-0.
Big game of the weekend, Joe.
Massive for you.
Should be a nice, comfortable win for us, shouldn't it?
It's going to be an hard game.
So what? I think you'll get some.
I've got a sneaky feeling, but we'll caveat that by saying I've always got a sneaky feeling. And over the last 2 years or so, it hasn't really
He's sitting on the fence, guys. He's sitting on the fence.
That much. No, look, I think there's obviously... do you know what? The international break has come at the worst time for Chelsea. Because if we had have played them 6 days or so, what it would have been after that big win against Man City, when they finally, got the duck off their back and been able to go and beat City in a fixture that over the past 8 years or so, I think they had Flamini in the team last time they beat City. Because of the emotional come down of that, like we saw Newcastle against West Ham after the night at St James's Park against PSG.
No, I hear you.
Because of that emotional come down, I think it would have been perfect time to face Arsenal. Because we've had this little international break, I think everyone's had a chance to breathe, relax. I think we're in for a really tough match. I do think there's a good possibility we see a 1-1 draw in that match.
I think a draw. Maybe even a Chelsea win,
You always do well against Arsenal at home, though, don't you?
We haven't actually done we haven't actually done well against them for a while.
They've won their... Did they win it last year? The year before?
Yeah.
They won it last year.
They won last year, I think 3-1, 4-2 the year before.
Yeah,
and Arteta against Chelsea. Arteta against Chelsea, 11 matches. I think he's only lost twice. And bearing in mind, a lot of those 11 matches, they would have been the sort of lesser team when it was us, under Tuchel and whatnot, and them sort of finishing 8th. So to have only lost twice against Chelsea is a pretty good record.
Do you know what? I've only got one memory of the Chelsea-Arsenal game at Chelsea.
Which one?
The Kanu hat-trick.
Yeah.
It's one of the best goals I've ever seen.
You know what my one will always be? the best memory from any Arsenal-Chelsea match was Wayne Bridge at Highbury. Wednesday night Champions League. We'd never beat them like we had beat them, but growing up, I never see us beat Arsenal. Every now and again we beat Man United. Every now and again we beat Liverpool. We never beat Arsenal.
Is that the story where he went in after Roman and they collared him for an extra bonus or whatever?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I remember that.
Well deserved, though.
Yeah. Oh, wicked. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. Give us your take in the comments. England selection. Who do you think should be the midfield 2? This is me, Anton Ferdinand, Danny Murphy, Joey. We'll see you next week.